Hi everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the second half of November and in particular the new moon that we have coming up in Sagittarius on the 29th. Now I'm actually filming this video quite early in the month for work commitment reasons. I'm filming it on the 7th, and for any of you who are listening to this quite early in the month, just to remind you that we have some quite important transits of Venus happening on the 9th and 11th. On the 9th of the month, Venus comes to conjunct the galactic centre, the centre of our galaxy, this huge vortex of energy. And then on the 11th, just 2 days later, it comes to the Aries point at 0 of Capricorn. And that suggests that this is going to be quite a big time for the world, important events for the world. And of course, I'm thinking very much of the US election and the impact that will have on the world in that particular week. Venus is also about values as well. It's interesting that we have the full moon, supermoon, a very powerful one coming up on the 14th of the month. That's in Taurus, which again is ruled by Venus. So both Taurus and Venus are connected to the banking system and finance, and money and currencies. Venus very connected to currencies. But more importantly, it's your deeper sense of values, your eternal sense of values, not just how much you have in your bank account, but are you in line with society's values in which you're living? Because that's going to be quite an important theme, I think, over the next few years too, the issue of values. Now, in the second half of November, Neptune becomes stronger. And that's quite hard to say that Neptune is ever strong because it's the planet of the ethereal and it's in its own sign of Pisces, but it becomes more prominent because it's barely moving in this second half of the month. It becomes stationary direct on the 20th, and that is a great time when its symbolism is magnified to really find some peace and some calm and to really touch bliss, whether it's being in nature, being by water, listening to music, your own form of meditation, to really find that place of the sweet spot of bliss that you can keep returning to. Because undoubtedly we have a lot of chaos and confusion in the world, and that's the less positive expression also of Neptune. Neptune rules things that aren't clear, not being as they seem. They can be confusing. It can be about secrets or scandals. And we've had this running for the last year with Neptune square to Saturn, but it continues in the second half because, for instance, from the 15th to the 22nd, Neptune is also squaring Mercury. So can you believe what you hear? So there's going to be a lot of that sort of less positive expression of Neptune around, I believe, because it's the chaos and the confusion which is going to provoke us to take some steps to live in a different way. Now, personally, the Neptune square to Mercury can be really lovely. This is Neptune is at 9 degrees of Pisces, and this can be about our imagination, our inspiration, our creative thinking, also our sense of idealism. I think the sense of idealism is going to be quite an important quality as well. You know, wanting to move to a more ideal way of living, perhaps, when things seem to be very much shifting sands. Then on the 24th and 25th of the month, we've got some quite different energy coming in because Venus comes to conjunct Pluto at 15 of Capricorn. But it's forming a T-square to Jupiter at 15 of Libra, and also to Aries and Eris at 21 of Aries. So this can produce some quite intense emotions, some quite intense feelings. If you're in a relationship and those degree areas are triggering anything in your chart, there might be a bit of restlessness between the polarity of wanting security, maybe financial security, Capricorn, but keeping things as they are, staying in the status quo, keeping things stable, staying in the relationship. but there's maybe another part of you that's starting to feel more restless, that wants more freedom, more independence, more individuality, more self-expression, and there could be quite a restless pull between the two. Also, Jupiter in Libra, part of that T-square, will be about balance and fairness. Do you have a balanced relationship, or is it too much one way or the other? Now, Venus actually moves on in December, so don't do anything too precipitously, because the intense feelings may ease a bit, but just around the 24th and 25th, you might feel that quite strongly. Also on the 24th and 25th, Jupiter is exact in its square to Pluto. Now, I've mentioned in the last video that this personally can be very, very positive for you. If you see where Jupiter falls at 15 of Libra in your chart, that can be an area where you see some success and recognition, abundance, growth opportunities coming in. And the Pluto end of the square at 15 of Capricorn, see where that falls in your chart, because that's about a slow building empowerment for you in that area of life. However, in a more mundane sense, Pluto is about the powerful, the wealthy, it's about the riches of the world, and it can also, in a very different sense, be about debt and deficit and taxes. So with the square to Jupiter, Jupiter expands anything it touches, so we may see more discussion about taxes, debts, deficit coming to the fore round about that time. But personally, as I say, it's very positive. Then, on the 29th of the month, and this happens at 4:18 a.m. Pacific and 12:18 p.m. UK time, we have the new moon at 7:42 of Sagittarius. Now, a new moon is always a new beginning. So see where 7:42 of Sagittarius falls in your chart, and this is a great time to set a new intention for that seed that is being planted to unfold over the months. Is it falling in your 11th house? Do you need to make some new resolutions in your friendship groups? Is it falling in your 2nd house? You need to set a new intention about earning some money. See where it's falling, because where it's falling in your personal chart makes a big difference. And if you don't know where it's falling, check out this link appearing above, and then you can get everything you need to know, free birth chart from my website, etc., and work out where it is for you. Now, what's interesting at this new moon is it is tightly square the degree point where we were at the 1st of September this year with the solar eclipse. That was at 9 degrees of Virgo. So that was a big new beginning. So if that was triggering anything in your chart at 9 degrees of Virgo at the beginning of September, the end of this 3 months where we are now, 29th of November, you may be asking yourself how much progress you've made from that new beginning, how far you've come from that new beginning. That's an interesting aspect of this. Now, the Sun and the Moon are also square to Neptune and the nodal axis. Just one thing I want to also mention about the nodal axis. On the 17th of the month, Neptune comes to be exactly conjunct the South Node, and that's to do with our collective past. So you may be feeling some perhaps disappointment or disillusionment to do with where we've got to now as a society, but equally that can act as an impulse to do something different, to have a better dream for the future. And this is what this new moon in Sagittarius is very, very much about, because it's aspecting Neptune and that nodal axis too. And it's very optimistic. Sagittarius is very positive and upbeat. It can always see things in terms of bigger and better possibilities, bigger horizons, better horizons. So in its square to Neptune, it's strange. I always think of Einstein here because he had this emphasis in Sagittarius and Pisces, and he was a mystic. He used to go out on his little boat on the lake at night and stare up at the stars and develop his theories of relativity. And so it's this yearning mysticism for something bigger and better for ourselves and for the world that we can really start to feel at this new moon. So it can be an inspired Neptune, future vision, Sagittarius, or future dream of who you can become. Sagittarius is also very much about the truth. It's about authenticity. You need to get to the truth. But it can tip into a little bit of dogmatism about my truth versus your truth. Hence, it's also associated with religions and belief systems and even religious intolerance, because you can get very set in your truth. So try and use this combination at this new moon to be open to higher wisdom, to really find a pure inner truth for you. It's the inner truth which is so important. Because what's also possible at this new moon, Sun and Moon square to Neptune, and Saturn also still squaring Neptune, we may still have these rumblings around honesty, trustworthy, secrecy, what's true, what's not, etc. And we'll try and get to the truth, Sagittarius, but almost the more we try and get to the external truth, the more elusive it may become. So really have that sense of your own inner wisdom and your own inner truth, and that's what you trust. Because things may start to be revealed in the outside world that even change your belief systems, in fact. So, don't rely on the outer world for your reality. Rely on your inner wisdom for your reality. Because Sagittarius is also very connected to wisdom and higher consciousness too. Then, right at the end of the month, we have Jupiter coming into an opposition with Uranus. Now, by now, Jupiter is at 16 of Libra, Uranus is at 20 of Aries, because it's retrograde. This aspect won't become exact until December, but it's a wonderful aspect. It's often called the Eureka aspect, because it can be a time of new scientific discovery. It can be a time when we discover more evidence of life beyond this planet and even this galaxy. That may come in then. But there's quite an urge for freedom and for liberation with this. There's an urge to feel young again, to kind of kick off the responsibilities and to kick against perhaps some of the controls, because it expands that slightly rebellious, revolutionary urge of Uranus to express your individuality. So you may even almost strike out or want to strike out against the current value system and follow an alternative way of life, a community way of life. That could be part of this picture. I think that's going to be an increasing part of the picture, in fact, as we move towards 2020. Last time in the last video, I mentioned Haumea, the dwarf planet, and that is also going to be opposing Uranus in this picture until early 2018. And that's very much, that combination is very much about the birth of a new consciousness. So the intensity that we're feeling in the outer world, the chaos, the shifting sands of what's true and what's not, what can we really rely on, all of that is really helping to galvanize this freedom, this dream, this inspiration for a new consciousness, which is growing as more and more people awaken and we move towards the new paradigm at the end of 2020. So lots of big things happening in this second half of the month. So thank you for listening, and really enjoy this wonderful new moon in Sagittarius. Develop your vision for the future, for yourself and for the world. And if you'd like more information about any of my products, my tutorial videos, books, audiobook, etc., just check out my website, pamgregory.com, or thenextstep.uk.com. Thanks so much for listening.